Hello everyone. I hope each and every one of you is staying healthy, both physically and mentally, and you all are learning. After the previous video, you must have got some orientation about habits and how one can change them consciously. So previously, we discussed the first step of changing the habits. The first step was to identify the routine that you have for any particular habit. And now, without a further ado, let me tell you the further steps. Step number 2: experimenting with the reward. The important fact about the reward is they satisfy your craving. The craving which basically is driving the habit. Now, the most intriguing aspect of the craving is it is very hard to determine. It is hard to see many times, but it is right in front of our sights and we cannot acknowledge it. So to have a better sense, you need to experiment on various rewards. Like in my example of phone addiction, whenever after a session of study I feel to watch memes or stand up, instead what I did was put on some music and walk outside, or I used to play a match in PUBG, or I exercise a bit of 50 reps of push-ups. This process is gonna take some time. It may take some days or weeks even. What you need to do is observe your mind response after getting these rewards. The easiest way for this is as soon as you get the reward and you come back to study or work, you have to take a paper and write 3 words that comes in your mind. It can be anything. It can be some random words. It can be the feelings. It can be any object that you saw while walking. And tracking your feelings in this paper sets a record for each type of rewards. These words will help you recollect your experience with that reward more efficiently. After writing these 3 words, just set an alarm for 15 minutes and now ask yourself, you still feel the urge to browse Instagram or see a stand-up comic or whatever is your case? Do you still feel that urge to repeat that habit? For example, after 15 minutes you still feel the urge to browse through Insta or YouTube. After going for a walk, that means that you didn't want to move as you were still for quite a while, or you still have the urge after some music session. That means you didn't just want a break from the studies because it was hard on your mind. And on the other hand, you feel satisfied after a small game of PUBG. Then that means what you are craving for is the surge of dopamine and the happiness that you feel after winning the game. Now, trying different rewards actually shows what your cravings actually is. We can see a few more examples, like most alcoholics have craving of forgetting the stress of life for a few moments. Chain smokers have craving of the rush of the blood. One more important aspect I want to discuss with you guys is that some habits also include physiological addiction by our body. Researches have been done and it is found that in cases of cigarettes, nicotine concentration in our body is significantly reduced after 10 to 14 days, and thus body no more physiologically requires it. It means the majority of the problem is our habit loops. Thus identifying your real craving is very important. Coming to the next step. Step number 3. Isolate the triggers. Triggers are really very tricky, as triggers for a habit can be anything. It can be a posture of body, it can be a time period, it can be an emotion, it can be a place, it can be a group of people. You start your breakfast because you were hungry, or it was 7:13 on the clock, or because all your family members were on the table. While performing step 1 and step 2, there are so much information in your mind about your habit that it is quite difficult to identify these triggers. Have you turned your bike automatically towards your work or college because of seeing a tree or a road sign, but you were actually going for shopping? This was just the autopilot mode that your mind took. Now, finding triggers in all this noise, you must defragment all the information about your habit loop into 5 categories: location, time, emotional state, other people, or immediately preceding action. As soon as you observe that you have the urge, at that point ask these questions to yourself. Where were you? What is the location? What time is it? What is your emotional state? Are you anxious? Are you stressed out? Are you hungry? Are any other people around you? And what are the immediate preceding action that you took? And soon after, in 5 to 6 times you will observe a pattern and you can dug in further. Remember, some habits are so much integrated in our system that you may have more than one triggers for a same habit loop. In my case, I realized that my state of boredom and tiredness from studies was the trigger of my habit to browse through memes and stand-up. Step number 4, the planning. Now, as you have isolated the routine, what you are actually craving for, and the trigger of your habit loop, now you have to plan it out yourself, how you are going to alter the routine of this particular habit loop. You don't need to change the trigger and the reward. All you need to change is the routine. Because in most of the cases, if you focus on changing the reward, it will be a torture for your mind and it will end up going to the reward once again. Thus, it is much better to change the routine. Suppose in my case, I feel satisfied when the surge of dopamine is felt by my body, but for this surge, my brain goes on repeating the cycle of watching the latest memes and stand-up, or playing matches after matches in PUBG. And the trigger to this particular habit is the mental exhaustion for a long study session. So to regulate this behavior, all I did was put a timer of 20 minutes. Whenever I feel exhausted, I turn on the timer, then either I watch stand-up video or some memes or played a match in PUBG, but as soon as the time rang, I paused whatever I do and started studying again. Initially I followed and many times I end up forgetting it, but slowly as I practice it again and again, it became embedded in my mind to stop this routine and start working again. In many rehabilitation centers, researchers have found that most of the chronic drinkers have this habit loop in which the trigger was stress in their life, and the craving was to reduce their stress. And out of this, one rehabilitation center unknowingly focused on changing this routine. It involved sharing your stress and emotion with a group of people. In a support group, many used to share their problems and felt a bit relieved. Researchers also found that not only this rehabilitation center have helped millions of people throughout decades. And one important aspect of the change was belief in God or some kind of cosmic energy. But researchers, being agonists, didn't accept that. They found out the 5th reason and one of the biggest steps for changing a habit. Step number 5, belief. They found that belief itself was key factor for change. Who believed in God or some energy accepted that there is someone more superior and that this stage is temporary and it is going to be okay. If you are willing to change your habit, I don't say that you believe on God or some superpower. You believe strongly on yourself. Believe that you can change and you are okay with this change. Believe that you have consciously made this decision. You can anytime talk to me. You can share anything you want in the comment section. You can DM me or Instagram. You have to believe that there are people who are with you in this change, and I am with you in this change. If you made it till here, I would really appreciate that you like this video, and if you really enjoyed this video, do check out my other videos. And all I want to say is that I really want to learn more from each and every one of you. So if you have anything you want to share, you can DM me and we can share your experiences and your story in this channel. That's it for today. See you in the next one. Till then, take care, stay healthy, think, learn and grow.